Balake. Where is Balake at?
My name's Blake.
Do you want to go to war, Balake? I'm for real. Aaron.
Aaron is present. How y'all doing, everyone? Thank you for joining me on this Sunday evening. This was super last minute. Just decided to do it. And I'll tell you what, the reason I decided to do it is I decided long ago that what my thing was going to be upload something every day. And I was so busy doing family stuff today that I didn't have time to finish editing the stuff I would normally upload. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to stick to my thing. And one of the backstory, I mean, I've told this a few times, but, you know, I always assume everyone's watching this, watching for the first time, is I watch so much YouTube myself. I have so many channels that I love watching. And none of those channels upload every day, but I love watching them. I love the creators. I love the content. And every day I go to one of these channels and there's not something new to watch, I get a little bit sad inside. And I was like, what if my thing was being a channel that every day somebody could come and be like, all right, let's see what's new on the channel today. So that's kind of my thing. It's why I try to do it. And it also occurred to me, I haven't actually done just a solo Q&A for quite a long time, because we got the Mondays with Mike and Mark, and that kind of acts as, you know, I guess my weekly Q&A fix. By the way, tomorrow is Monday. Normally would be Mondays with Mike and Mark, but we're doing a celebration for Mike's wife's birthday, Christy Colburn. So Mondays with Mike and Mark is going to be postponed until Tuesday. We probably should just scrap it, but as of right now, the plan is to do Mondays with Mike and Mark on Tuesday this week. And let's see here. So there was something else what was I gonna start out with? I totally slipped my mind. Let me just give a moment for some more folks to show up. Seeing everyone in the chat. Hello, everyone. Crap, there was something else I really wanted to start out with. I don't think this was it, but just while it's on my mind, I do get a lot of people asking me whether I think Scientology had anything to do with the passing of Lisa Marie Presley. And I want to be very quick to say, I do not. I know it seems so coincidental. The timing for Lisa Marie's passing, if you're David Miscavige, was very fortunate for David Miscavige. I mean, it sounds cold to say it, but if you're David Miscavige, you are cold, and that is the truth. But, and I've also said this many times, and I'll continue to say it. Scientology's leadership has proven time and time again that for whatever reason, it would rather spend years, decades, and tens of millions of dollars surveilling people, following them, harassing them, trying to destroy them, than to, I guess you could say, cross the ultimate line and hire a specialist who has a special kind of skills and will handle a problem terminatedly. I'm trying to keep this stream a little PG-13, so I'm trying not to use a highly triggering word to the YouTube algorithm. Scientology has sort of proven that is a line they will not cross. They might cross that line when it comes to animals. You hear stories about that. Harassing people by terminatedly handling their animals. But you just don't hear any stories, even from the highest level whistleblowers, not from Marty Rathbun, not from L. Ron Hubbard's kids, not from Mike Rinder. You'll never hear any stories of Scientology leadership actually trying to end someone's life. And, you know, I say for some reason, the Scientology has advanced to a point where the most important thing to Scientology is retaining its tax-exempt status. And, you know, if they were ever to be caught actually doing something that would end, you know, proactively end someone's life early, that would be like, you would think that would be like one of the things most likely to get their tax-exempt status taken away. And that's just a risk Miscavige isn't willing to take. Okay, good. Just checking that the mic is working good. All right, let's see. Oh, here's a question. What are some of your favorite YouTube shows? Great question. Some shows, I'm going to answer this in many different ways, because there's some political shows that I like on both the left and the right, but I'm not even going to mention those because that'll just immediately set off a firestorm, I'm sure. One of the channels that comes to mind is Mentor Pilot, Mentour, Mentor Pilot. And I like this. Okay, so this is a guy, he's an extremely experienced commercial pilot. He does a channel dedicated to breaking down accident reports of various airline accidents and explaining how these things occurred and what changes were implemented in the industry as a result. Now, this sounds like I'm not a pilot. You know, aviation is not a hobby of mine, but I love watching this guy's channel because he's so freaking good at explaining things. It's one of these things I sort of like. I feel like maybe one of the reasons I watch his channel is because I sort of try to emulate him, or at least I think he explains things in his area of knowledge in a similar way to the way I explain things in my area of knowledge. Like a lot of people, I've seen a lot of comments that are like, I don't really give a damn about Scientology, but it kind of like how you explain things. So Mentor Pilot. And so that's an example of a channel where he has high production quality. He's an expert in the subject that he's talking about. And he's very good at communicating. So I just love watching his channel. There's another channel called More Plates, More Dates. A guy named Derek, More Plates, More Dates. He's like a fitness guy. And one of the reasons I like watching his channel is he's sort of the opposite. His production quality is garbage. He has a wall, sort of a wall like mine with an air conditioner or something behind him. He just has a little lava mic clipped to his shirt. Nothing fancy. I mean, he probably films with a phone. You guys know I film with a phone. I'm looking into my phone right now. I'm filming on my phone. I like watching his channel because he's also an expert in the subject that he talks about. But he's really just a talking head, and he's got like a million or 2 million subscribers. He's vulgar, like he swears a lot. He's also funny. Cause I don't watch his channel for the content. You know, I don't care about fitness advice. Anything I do, I'm going to keep doing. I'm not looking for new tips and new tricks, but I like watching his stuff. What's another one? I'm not going to mention any political shows. Dr. Todd Grande is a funny channel that I like to watch. Again, now his channel I was watching for the content, but also he's another guy where no production quality whatsoever. He's not even funny. He has very dry humor. It's a very dry humor, and he's like a psychologist. He I don't know if he's actually a licensed psychologist, but he does have some licensing, some diploma or whatever in the mental health field, and he will. Kind of like the Mentor Pilot guy does after reports of accidents. He sort of does after reports of high profile mental breakdowns or crimes or stuff like this. So these are just some examples of channels that I watch almost more for what they do and not necessarily the content of the videos, if that makes any sense. Thank you for that question. Much appreciated. Okay, I did see another one here. MW, thank you so much. Hey, if you're gonna send a super chat, throw a question in there. Happy to answer a question for you. Okay, let's see. No Kizzy. Why didn't the 1982 Clearwater meetings about Scientology result in the city working overtime to get rid of the organization? Thank you, No Kizzy. So here's the thing. Government has limited role and limited ability. It is not within the power of the government to get rid of Scientology, especially when we're just talking about local Clearwater government. It is within the power of the federal government to get Scientology's tax-exempt status revoked. And that is a goal I, in my small little way, hope, in my mind, I feel like I'm working towards helping someday, some way accomplish that goal. But you can't get rid of an organization. Even if you take away their tax-exempt status, you're not getting rid of the organization. You're helping put a big nail in the coffin, but you're not getting rid of it. So now Clearwater did actually even overstep. At one point, they overstepped their authority as a local government, and they passed some ordinance that was going to limit Scientology's ability to like pass out flyers or something, right? And the mistake that they made was that in the public conversation or debate that they had about this ordinance, they made it crystal clear that the only reason they were passing the ordinance was Scientology. Well, that opened them up to a lawsuit from Scientology. And Scientology at that time sued the city. Now, I don't know if it was 1982 that they sued the city or if it was, I think it was in the 80s. I could be mistaken, but about the date. But the city ended up having to pay Scientology, I don't know, $300,000, $600,000, whatever it was. And ever since then, the city has been a giant PUSS with respect to Scientology. Ever since then, the city has just been terrified to upset Scientology. To the point where a lot of these city leaders look like they're working for Scientology, when in many cases, they're just so afraid of upsetting Scientology that they err so much on the side of not upsetting Scientology that it looks like they're working for them. That's not to make excuses for everybody. Some people, like Mayor Frank Hubbard, are associated with nonprofits who accept millions of dollars in donations from Scientology's richest members. So there certainly has become this kind of soft corruption, you might call it that, with Clearwater's political establishment at this point. There are so many members of Clearwater's political establishment who are getting rich off of selling Clearwater to Scientology that that these days I tend not to give people the excuse, oh, they're just afraid of upsetting Scientology. I tend not to give them that excuse anymore. But for a long time, that really was what was motivating the behavior of Clearwater's leadership, was not getting sued by Scientology. Now, not many people seem to be aware that we're at a point now that Scientology hasn't sued anyone or anything in like over 20 years. The last person they tried to sue was Debbie Cook, and Debbie Cook took him to the cleaners in about 3 or 4 days, and they gave her millions of dollars to please go away and stop talking about David Miscavige. But back to the question, why didn't the 1982 Clearwater meetings about Scientology result in the city working overtime to get rid of the organization? Yeah, there really were a lot of people in leadership at that time who were very much working as hard as they could to limit Scientology's any further incursion into Clearwater. People like Gabe Cesaris, people like Richard Tenney. And eventually, Scientology just won the war of attrition. And now Clearwater leadership is neutered, and they're a bunch of pansies. So there you go. Thank you for the question. All right, let me see if I saw another one here. Another one, Boston Carpenter. Thank you very much. Throw a question in there next time. Throw a question. All right, let's see. Brian S. What were your career and personal goals in Scientology? How'd you imagine your future self? Please also ask guests. Well, thank you for the question, Brian. So you don't have career goals in Scientology. Like, no matter where you, I guess, you guys remember, I was practically born and raised in Scientology. I was 12 years old when I started working for Scientology full time. So I guess I did have aspirations to be promoted to international management, if that's what you mean. But otherwise, pretty much anywhere you're working in the entire hierarchy of Scientology, no matter where you are, no matter where you as a cog is located in that giant wheel, whether you're washing dishes or you're a high-class auditor or an executive, no matter where you are, you do feel that you are, just through your dedication and your hours worked, putting your shoulder to the wheel and helping get the show on the road and helping Scientology clear the planet. So it's not like some low-level Sea Org member is sitting there going, oh boy, I'm just dreaming for the day that I become promoted to deputy commanding officer of such and such. Nah, no matter where you are in the organization, you feel you're doing a lot and you're doing your part. I've never met a Sea Org member or a staff member who had aspirations career-wise, or who would even describe working for Scientology as a career. Scientologists do like using the terminology, what's your purpose in life? So in Scientology, a staff member would say, my purpose in life is to help Scientology clear the planet. And you can accomplish that purpose almost no matter what. You can tell yourself you're accomplishing that purpose almost no matter what you're doing in Scientology. So people tend not to have career aspirations. Personal goals, it's funny. Most Scientologists, their personal goal would just be to go up the bridge. I didn't even have that goal. I didn't even like getting auditing. I didn't even want to go up the bridge. So I was just so laser focused on my goal was to do my job. as best as I can and have the best statistics that I can. I guess that's just sort of how I came to be, having been so young when I was essentially just put onto the path of, okay, this is what you're going to do. And the goal just becomes be good at what you're doing with no greater vision or aspiration tied to it. But thank you for the question. All right, let's see. Carrie Johnson, Scientologists go between locations for training. How? Who pays for transportation? Good question. So, Carrie, if let's say you're a staff member at the Philadelphia organization and you're being sent to Clearwater for full-time training, the org itself is supposed to pay for that transportation costs. Now, in many cases, the org doesn't have enough money, and they'll just call some rich public and say, "Hey, can you pay for the plane ticket?" But yeah, the organization itself is supposed to pay for the transportation costs. Again, they usually can't. So there's probably even many situations where the staff member themselves, just out of desperation, necessity, might even pay for their own transportation costs. Somebody might promise them they'll get reimbursed later, and then, of course, they never will get reimbursed later. Good question. Thank you very much. Here's one from Big Dude. Do you think Doofus Miscavige will ever go to prison for his sins? Would it be funny if Big Bubba taxes his backside? No tax exemption in prison. I don't think Miscavige will ever go to prison. I think, I don't know. Well, I don't know that he won't. I just don't think that he will. And I don't think that's not my definition of, that's not what success looks like to me either. Like Miscavige being put in prison. I mean, not even L. Ron Hubbard was put in prison. And if Miscavige was put in prison, it's like, I don't see that as a win necessarily. It'd be great if he did, but I guess what I'm saying is I define success in other ways, and other ways that I do think are likely. Whereas, so like when I say Miscavige isn't going to go to prison, I'm not saying we'll never succeed. Sending him to prison is not my goal. But it does bear this, this question is worth asking. I have on my channel recently covered a lot and will continue to cover much, much more. This aspect of Scientology covering up for people who abuse children in very specific ways. And it certainly does seem to me that when this stuff comes out in full, and if criminal prosecutions were to take place on this subject, it seems inevitable to me that eventually it would, someone's going to prison. Someone better be going to prison. I just think Miscavige is too removed organizationally from that particular type of abuse. There's so many echelons of management between where that abuse is occurring and him. And then, of course, you also have like the shell game that Scientology plays with all of its corporations and LLCs and shell companies and all this kind of crap. That Miscavige would never be the one to go to prison for that kind of stuff. So, and when you talk about other crimes of a financial nature, financial fraud, if the government's able to put together some sort of a RICO case, I do wonder where Miscavige would fall in, if the government's putting together a RICO case, I'm starting to talk about stuff I'm really not an expert in. I just don't like, if they would put together a RICO case, and I think it's possible that would happen eventually. I just don't know whether the web that the government would, connecting all these dots and all these players, whether Miscavige gets trapped in that. I just don't know. So it's possible, depending on how the government goes about certain prosecutions, it's possible Miscavige could get snared. But then you have to ask yourself this question: would the government bother pursuing the prosecution to the point of incarceration, or would they go for a settlement like they do with the giant multinational corporations? See what I'm saying? So there's a lot of potential outcomes here, and I'm just not sure any of them end with Miscavige himself going to prison. But that's okay. We can send other people to prison. We can get their tax exempt status revoked. All sorts of great stuff. Okay, here's one. Harrison S. Have you ever met David Miscavige in person? And if you did, what would you say to him? Okay, so I've never had a one-on-one conversation with David Miscavige. My meeting him in person would be similar. Like if you go to a concert and you're close to the stage and, if you go to Rolling Stones concert, did you meet Mick Jagger? No, but you saw him. He was singing to you, but you didn't meet him. So that's kind of my relationship to David Miscavige. I've been physically present at countless number of events where he was addressing everybody, and but just never spoke to him. And what would you say to him? I feel like I would say something to insult him about being really, really short. I mean, would I actually do that? I don't know, but I feel like that's kind of where I would go. Like, if I ran into him in the grocery store, like, my God, you're so much smaller than I thought. Wow, All right, let's see. Celeste Commodore. Thanks to growing up in Scientology and blown for good, I got ads of 2 cult people in a row, Grant Cardone and Tony Robbins. LOL. Yeah, Celeste, I've been thinking about putting out an apology video to everyone who has to watch all the Grant Cardone ads that get served up on all of my videos, or an awful lot of them. I'm a little surprised. I've never heard of a Tony Robbins ad playing on my stuff. That's the first I'm hearing of that, but very interesting. All right, thank you for that. Okay, here's another one. 4D stellated hypercube. 4D stellated. Okay. Scientology appears to contain useful tools on reality creation and self-empowerment. Do you believe this was Ron Hubbard copying other philosophies? Excellent question. Thank you for that one. So I feel like yes. However, I couldn't tell you what other movement's not really the word I'm looking for there. In present time, there's a lot of gurus who do this sort of motivational shtick that is kind of Scientology-ish, that if Scientology were to be created today, you could then be like, oh, he's sort of ripping off this person and that person or this person, like Tony Robbins, for example. And yet I simply don't know what kind of, I guess I'll just go back to the word movement that I don't want to use. I don't know what kind of movements existed back in 1950 to 1954 that L. Ron Hubbard would have been copying. Other experts would know, I don't know, other experts would know. So I just don't think L. Ron Hubbard really created anything original. And, even Dianetics was meant to sort of be a version of psychotherapy. L. Ron Hubbard didn't become rabidly anti-psych until much later. He actually intended Dianetics to be a sort of a common man's psychotherapy. So even Dianetics was kind of a ripoff of whatever was happening in psychoanalysis at the time, to the best of my knowledge. That's my opinion. I just don't know what else he could have ripped off. And there have been other things that are a ripoff of Scientology, like EST, Earnhardt Seminar Training, is a ripoff of Scientology. Landmark is a ripoff of EST. There are some companies who, I think Lululemon is an example. Lululemon, and this might not be true now, but it was true a bunch of years ago when I was researching the company. Lululemon mandated Landmark training for its senior executives. And there were many people who felt that Lululemon, the company, the yoga apparel company, was essentially becoming a cult because in order to become a part of senior management, you had to be high up in Landmark. What the hell is my point there? Oh, that there are things that have been ripping off of Scientology. I just don't know what else Scientology would have ripped off of. But if some of you guys are a little more knowledgeable in that area, you want to drop your comments down below on what L. Ron Hubbard could have been ripping off as far as that reality creation, self-empowerment stuff that was going on in the early 50s. I'd be really interested to hear people's thoughts on that. All right, let's see. Gina Farina, thank you so much here. Aaron, what is the best to donate to help? Well, damn, Gina, I'm not sure what you mean, but let me think about this for a second. What is the best to donate to help? Okay, I think you're talking about the Aftermath Foundation. So the Aftermath Foundation is a nonprofit that helps people who are escaping from Scientology. I'm the vice president of the foundation. Mike Rinder is on our board. Marc Headley is on our board. I did get an email the last day or two of someone who wanted to, the question was, where can I send like some clothes or some supplies and everything? It really is better to just give a financial donation to the foundation is better than sending goods. Like whatever it would cost you to ship those goods it's better just to make a donation to the foundation. So if you go to theaftermathfoundation.org, or if you go to the Aftermath Foundation's Facebook page, you can make donations through the website and online and everything. 100% of the money goes towards helping people who are escaping. Now, it's not literally 100 because there's a certain cost to keeping our registrations up to date in every state. When we ship out people the Aftermath Foundation business cards, we have to pay for shipping. But all the work that the board members do is completely for free. No one's getting paid. We do pay one person who's not a board member a small amount every month to handle all the social media accounts and all respond to all the messages and the requests that come in for like the Aftermath Foundation business cards. But otherwise, all the board members strictly work on a volunteer basis and don't receive any compensation or reimbursement or anything of that. So damn near 100% of the money goes towards helping people who are escaping from Scientology. Oh, and I guess I do have a little banner. Also, Marc Headley, who I said is one of our board members, he created the website, the SP Shop, so that people who want to support the foundation, but also want some fun little merch. This is a Mike Rinder bobblehead doll. I guess I should not call them bobblehead dolls. Bobbleheads. Mike Rinder bobblehead. And we have these little SP bracelets. And Mark set up the website as a separate LLC so that the foundation doesn't have to collect tax and all that kind of stuff. 100% of the proceeds from the SP Shop go to the Aftermath Foundation. So there we go. Let me get back to the comments here. Uh-oh, did I lose it? Okay. So I think that is what you were asking about when you say, what is the best to donate to help? Also, if you'd like to volunteer for the foundation, and volunteer just means, hey, if someone's leaving Scientology in my area, I would like to be able to help if needed. That's all volunteer means to the Aftermath Foundation. You can email volunteer@theaftermathfoundation.org and just give your name, the nearest major city that you're close to, and the kind of help you'd be interested in providing if the need arises. So thank you for that question. Here's one. Mel, why didn't LRH's blood relations take the reins of Scientology? It's a damn good question. You would think L. Ron Hubbard would have wanted his offspring to take over control. Diana Hubbard is still a senior executive in the Church of Scientology International. Why Diana Hubbard was not the one to take over, I have absolutely no idea. One could only conclude that Hubbard just didn't actually have didn't place any particular importance on offspring, which if we believe that Hubbard was a true believer in everything, in most of the stuff he said, would actually make sense. So, thetans don't have offspring. Only biological bodies have offspring, and biological bodies are meaningless. So by extension, in Scientology, you could justifiably say that your children are essentially meaningless as far as that parental-child connection. And the fact that at the bare bones level, that is what Scientology believes, is part of how Scientologists justify disconnecting from their children when the church tells them to, when Scientology tells them to, is they're not really your children. They're just trillion-year-old thetans who happen to be occupying a body that your body helped create. You know what I'm saying? So it stands to reason that Hubbard just didn't actually particularly care who his children were, and it being his child did not necessarily make you the most qualified to take over. Keep in mind, Hubbard didn't even select David Miscavige to take over. By all accounts, he did want Pat Broker and Annie Broker to take over. So yeah, I hope I answered that question. I do see there's more here, so let me find it. Abby Morford. Hey, Aaron, love your vids. Do you have multiple Facebook pages? I want to follow the real you, but see none officially verified. Abby, I have tried to get my Facebook page, my public Facebook page verified, and I get declined. I get denied. I don't know what else you got to do to get verified on Facebook. I have 15,000, followers on my public Facebook page. I post there all the time. Anyway, who knows what's going on? But so I have like my Aaron Smith-Levin as a person profile, which is a picture of me and my wife and my kids. And then I have my Aaron Smith-Levin public page, which is like me, like wearing a suit jacket and a button-down shirt or whatever. It won't have a verification badge on it, but it'll look like me. And I've never seen any copycat pages out there. So if you find it, chances are it's the one. I think it has 15,000 followers, which you'll be able to see on there. So that's how you can be sure it's the one. All right, let's see. PZ, did anyone make jokes, private or public, about DM, the short ass singing We Stand Tall when it was released? No. I'll tell you what. You do not make jokes, not only about David Miscavige, but about anyone in management or Sea Org members. There's a bulletin, a technical bulletin, and also a policy letter in Scientology called Jokers and Degraders. And this bulletin is what L. Ron Hubbard says in this bulletin creates an environment in Scientology, has created an environment in Scientology where it's pretty much considered that if you think it's funny to make jokes about anything about Scientology, you are someone who has deep-rooted evil purposes against Scientology and L. Ron Hubbard. People do not joke. I'll give you an example. This is when I was still like 13, 14 years old. I was doing this course at Flag in Clearwater, Florida. The course is called the Key to Life course. And this is a course where you just look up the definitions of small common words. And the promotional material for this course shows like one of these scales. And on one scale is a key, that's the key to life. And on the other scale is a pile of gold. And let me see if this is the key. The key is like heavier than the pile of gold, but the pile of gold says 14 karat. And someone in the course room was like, I wonder why it's 14 karat instead of 24 karat. And someone else was like, because if it was 24 karat, the scale would go the other way. A great joke. A great joke. That person was immediately sent to ethics for joking and degrading. That's why you don't see any Scientologist comedians, you guys. That's not to say you can't joke about anything. You just can't joke about Scientology. All right, let's see here. Siren Song, have you changed as a person since being in Scientology? I hate to break it to you. I'm a former Scientologist. Okay, so, but let me be charitable here. And let's say you meant to say, let's just assume you meant to say, have you changed as a person since no longer being in Scientology? And I would say as a person, no. I'm someone who believes that as people, we're pretty much baked in. Like who we are is pretty much baked into our physiology, our DNA, our mitochondria. I've told this funny story. So my dad, I was raised by pretty much a single mother. My mom and my dad were never married. That's actually why I have the two last names. Smith is my mom's name. Levin is my dad's name. But we would, and I was raised on the East Coast. My dad lived in Minnesota. So, you know, we would visit me and my brother would visit my dad every year. And I'm explaining it that way because me and my dad, we have a good relationship, but he's not someone I've spent a lot of time with throughout my life. And yet we have so many similarities in our personalities, the things that we say, the phrases that we use. And it's not anything I picked up from him. And it sure isn't stuff he's picked up from me. And anyway, that's just a little anecdote. It's one thing that it's an anecdote of something that I've experienced firsthand in my life that is like, damn, a lot of personality must just be baked in to the DNA. So, you know, I do not, a simple answer, I don't think I've changed as a person. I just no longer have to follow the rules of Scientology, which is good. All right, let's see. Jay Dice. Didn't TD leave? Oh, didn't Tommy Davis leave and Ann Archer stay? Do they talk? Good question. Tommy Davis was one of Miscavige's favorite goons. Tommy Davis left the Sea Organization. He hasn't publicly and officially left Scientology. But Tommy Davis is in this gray area. First of all, Tommy Davis hates David Miscavige. Also, Tommy Davis doesn't want to be declared a suppressive person. Also, David Miscavige doesn't want Tommy Davis telling anybody all the dirt that he knows. So they're basically at a détente. Tommy Davis agrees to keep his mouth shut and pretend like he still loves David Miscavige and to defend Scientology publicly every time he's beckoned to do so. And Miscavige will not declare him, right? So the deal is Miscavige won't declare Tommy as long as Tommy doesn't do anything publicly or give the impression that he's going to attack Scientology. So because Tommy Davis has continued to publicly defend Scientology whenever he's asked about it, he gets to continue to exist within the Scientology ecosystem. But it's not like Tommy Davis is doing Scientology. Tommy Davis ain't getting any auditing. Tommy Davis is not doing any courses. I mean, the woman he married is not even a Scientologist. So that's why Ann Archer and Tommy Davis, Ann Archer is Tommy Davis's mother. That's why they're still connected, because they're allowed to be. Good question. Thank you for that. Terry Chakay, how you doing, man? Thank you for that donation. Actually, I'm really embarrassed now. Can't remember if it's Theory or Thierry. It can't be Theory. It can't be Theory because only an American would say it that way. And Thierry is not American. Anyway, good to see you, man. Let's chat sometime soon. All right, got another one here. Big dude again. I was walking down the street yesterday when I saw someone pickpocket David Miscavige. I don't know how anyone could stoop so low. Very well done. Very well done. All right, Alicia Kemple. Here we go. Have you ever seen the show The Arrangement? I have not. If so, what's your thoughts on the show being based about Scientology and Tom, Katie, and DM? So many people have asked me about this. I guess I got to watch this show. The thing, if it's not on YouTube and it's not on Netflix, I pretty much don't watch it. Even though we have the Disney thing, we have the HBO thing, I've got Amazon Prime. I'm just such a creature of habit that if it's not on Netflix or YouTube, I can't be bothered. Even though it doesn't make any sense. It's just as much trouble to open up Prime or Disney or HBO. I just don't. And even then, I hardly even watch Netflix anymore. It's like I'm just I'm a creature of YouTube. So I guess what I'm saying is, if The Arrangement was on YouTube, I'd watch it. If it was on Netflix, I'd also be likely to watch it. But otherwise, it's just competing with so many other stuff for my attention. But anyway, based on what I've heard, I'm guessing the show is based on the Tom Cruise and it's not even Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes thing specifically, but the whole thing of, because remember, Katie Holmes wasn't the first person Scientology found for Tom Cruise. The first winner of the competition was Nazanin Boniadi, the famous Iranian actress. And the story of what Scientology did to her, oh my God, horrible. People forget about Nazanin because Nazanin herself has never been at liberty to publicly discuss it, but other people have discussed it on her behalf with accurate information. You guys, I suggest you guys check it out. Google Nazanin Boniadi, Tom Cruise. You'll be shocked at what happened with Nazanin and Tom Cruise. All right, let's see. I see another one here. Tarkina Meyer. Any chance Scientology could be lumped into the Grant Cardone fraud investigation? There's always a chance, just because Grant has donated so much of the illicit proceeds from his various endeavors to Scientology. But I can't. So there's always a chance. There's always a chance. Thank you for that. Yeah, Grant Cardone's in a boatload of trouble. He is in the crosshairs of the FBI, the SEC, and the IRS. And that boy is going to be going down. Hopefully 2023 is the year that occurs, but you never know how fast these things happen. All right, let's see. Here's one. M. Nancy. Wait. M. Nancy. I'm going with M. Nancy, CO1. Hey, Ron, I love that giggle. Do you have contact with your wife's family yet? No, I don't expect to. My wife's father has passed away. She, some of her family members were at least took the trouble to let her know a few days before he died that he was about to die. But even some of her family members who aren't Scientologists were such fucking cowards that he was dying for a couple of years and they couldn't be bothered to let her know. So that's why I really don't harbor a lot of good feelings towards many members on that side of the family. No, I don't expect, unless the members of her family leave Scientology, I don't expect to ever have contact with them. And you know what? That's why I'm dedicated to exposing and embarrassing the shit out of Scientology and David Miscavige. They have created this beast. They have created this beast by dedicatedly destroying families for really no good reason. They have created the beasts that you see today. I guess mostly me and Marc Headley. What they've done to Marc Headley's family, that's a book unto itself. All right, let's see. Here's another one from Boston Carpenter. I watch all your videos, but have zero connection with anyone in Scientology. Why do you think so many people, including me, are fascinated with this relatively small religious group? Yeah, it's a really good question. I feel like it must have to do with the celebrity angle, right? I feel like it must. There is, don't you think? Doesn't it have to be that? Because if not that, then what? It's got to be Tom Cruise, right? Or John Travolta? I mean, because what else? It's not, it has to be the overlap between, religion and cults and Hollywood and money. And I really do think, though, if you had to pick one thing, it had to be the celebrity stuff, because I just don't know what else would be a good answer to the question. Thank you for that. Terry, again, gosh darn it. Thank you. I will keep it up. Believe me. Every single day. My goal is really just to be their worst nightmare. Whether I actually accomplish being their worst nightmare or not is irrelevant. It's just my goal. It's just what drives me. All right. Here's one. Fat Cat's Heaven, ready to buy an SP bracelet. How many exactly have been sold is what I think that means. I want to have a sequential number engraved on it like a clear bracelet. That's very interesting. Marc Headley could probably tell you how many have been sold. Yeah, absolutely. I bet Mark, Claire does all the bookkeeping, for the website and everything. He might not be able to give it to you like accurately to the one, but he might be able to give it accurately to like the tens. Because we don't engrave them, but shoot Marc Headley an email. Gosh, I guess I don't know what email to give out for him. I don't want to just give out his email address on a stream like this. Shoot me a message, but Instagram, Facebook, email me at growingupinscientology@gmail.com with that exact question, and I'll forward it on to him. That would be kind of cool. All right, let's see. I know there's more. All right. Magic of Tenting. Very interesting name there. Have you seen the movie Honest Liar? Love your work. Keep it up. I have not seen that movie. I also haven't seen many movies lately, so I'm not sure if that's a new one or not, but I wish I had, because I'd love to. I'm actually a movie fanatic. I have an almost photographic memory for movies. I can tell you what a movie was about and who was in it from 30 years ago, a movie that I never even saw. Like I'll remember the poster, or I'll remember the teaser, the trailers, the commercials, or I'll remember a review that I saw about it. I love watching movies. When Netflix was originally just a company that you could order all the movies and everything, they lost money on me. And then Blockbuster started doing what Netflix did. You can rent movies, and then you could do it like a 3 movies at a time mail-in, and then they would give you a voucher. You could go into the store and rent 3 movies while you're waiting for your next 3. Blockbuster definitely lost money at me. I might have single-handedly put Blockbuster out of business. So sorry for that. All right, here we go. Joan G. Thank you so much for fighting the good fight and not backing down. I'll be sure to donate to the Aftermath group to appreciate you and others dismantling Scientology. That's very kind and generous of you. Thank you very much. It is truly my pleasure. Thank you, the villain. Appreciate that. Okay, here, Jerry Nodine. Hi, Aaron. How many of DM's immediate family are still in? I know Ron Sr., Ron Jr., and Jenna left. Any others? Fantastic question. The only ones, and I might be wrong about this. You guys know David Miscavige has a twin sister. She's still in Scientology. And I think he has another sister who's also still in Scientology. And I think Shelley's sister is still in Scientology. Everyone else is out. There's really such a red flag that I wish more Scientologists would allow themselves the freedom of thought to consider, is like, if Scientology really was everything it was cracked up to be, and if standard tech really was the solution to all things, then then Miscavige's family members and L. Ron Hubbard's family members would all still be in Scientology. Anyway, I could go on and on, but I won't. All right, here we go. Heather, how is it that Scientology believes that children born to them should be held in high regards because they chose the right parents, but in the same breath, the Sea Org members are forced to abort their babies? Okay, so first of all, I've never actually heard Scientologists ever say that children should be held in high esteem just because they were smart enough to be born to them. I know why you're saying that, and I know where you get that from. You're connecting dots in a way that not even Scientologists connect them. Like, yes, if a Scientology kid, like, it's one thing to be born into a Scientology family. That's not considered some big feat or accomplishment. Because you could be born into a Scientology family and then not really be interested in doing Scientology. It's really when you're born into a Scientology family and you sort of start doing Scientology very young and excel at it and do auditor training and all that kind of stuff. That's when you're treated like you're something super special, not just getting born into a Scientology family. So having Sea Org members unable to have children is because Scientologists consider nothing is more important than the business of getting people up the bridge. And Scientology, remember, it's only Sea Org members who are not allowed to have children. Public Scientologists are. Scientology staff members are. So because it's actually hard to recruit people to the Sea Org, the way they think about it is the Sea Org member will go, we are the ones who are the most dedicatedly working at clearing the planet and getting people up the bridge. Leave it up to everyone else to have the children. Having children is easy. Recruiting someone into the Sea Org is hard. So that's how they would think about it. Now, remember, they used to allow children in the Sea Org. But not only do you definitely not want children being raised in the Sea Org, that's a horrible fate for children. But it also, from the Sea Org's perspective, was a distraction to the business of the Sea Org. Now, you might go, yeah, but eventually all those kids would grow up to be Sea Org members. So wouldn't the Sea Org want that to occur? No, it's just, I mean, you guys know raising kids is hard work, and it's time, and doing it right is time consuming. It was always a lose-lose scenario for the kids themselves and for the Sea Org establishment to try and raise kids in the Sea Org in that environment. I mean, it's actually a good thing that you're not allowed to raise kids in the Sea Org anymore. It's not a good thing that Sea Org members are pressured to terminate pregnancies. But that is also one thing that has, let's say, improved in the last couple decades, decade or two, is they don't do that hard sell, that hard high pressure sales tactics to try to coerce Sea Org members into terminating pregnancies, largely because of the fear of exposure of doing that. Remember, the Laura D. Crescenzo civil lawsuit was about that very subject. And it was actually Laura D. Crescenzo's lawsuit that was in large part responsible for ending the practice of like really twisting someone's arm figuratively to terminate a pregnancy. So great question. Thank you for that. All right, here's one. Danny Crook, do you still enjoy cigars? Binging old episodes, and I noticed the Rocky humidor and like the channel even more. I got that humidor right over there to the side. I do still enjoy cigars. And for my birthday, it's pretty much the only thing I ask people to get me because, I mean, I'm a grown-ass man. What do I want for my birthday? Just get me some cigars. But not so much these days, meaning not so often these days, mainly because I just don't go out anymore. I used to go out with the boys all the time. You know, it used to be a weekly thing. Every Wednesday night or Thursday night, we'd go out to a local cigar bar. But, you know, people have more kids. people got work stuff going on. Then there was the pandemic, shut down for a while. It's hard to get out. It's hard to get everybody out together these days. But we try. We try. Thank you for that very much. Dora. Thank you so much, Dora. Throw a question in there next time. Happy to answer it. All right, let's see. The villain got a Monaghan story. Ben Monaghan, the Scientology villain. So do I have a story? It's just Ben Monaghan is a walking story. Ben Monaghan was just such a horrible, disgusting human being that just being in his presence for 5 minutes gives you a Monaghan story. He's a guy, he's like a big guy, like farm big, not like bodybuilder big, like a big guy who's born on a farm. Like he could have been a left tackle or something. And for a Sea Org member, I just never met a Sea Org member who had such a personality disorder the way that he did, where he constantly had to impose his size and his loudness on everyone at all times. You just want to look at him and be like, what is wrong with you? Like, were you dropped on your head as a child? Like, what is your problem? But he had sort of this relatively elevated position. It was a low position, but in an organization that's kind of a senior organization called Senior HCO. And he always had lowly positions in Senior HCO, but he was just so full of himself. And I have the stories that I could tell wouldn't even sound particularly interesting. The only thing interesting about the story is just what a piece of shit Ben Monaghan is. The story itself isn't that interesting. And guess what? It turns out Ben Monaghan left the Sea Org. It looks like he might live in Miami. So maybe I'll go down there trolling the streets in Miami, trying to find his ass just so I can, maybe have a nice little conversation with him. Who knows? I tell you what, though, someone from Scientology is going to call Ben Monaghan and let him know about this stream and see if he's been in touch with me or anything like that. Or maybe they'll even try to use Ben to like goad me into a situation where I can get arrested or something like that. That's really the kind of stuff Scientology would do. So, I might not actually just be for that very reason. I might actually have to restrain myself if I did see him in public. I wouldn't want to give Scientology a mugshot of me to publish on my website, but at this point, who really cares? All right, let's see. How much money can an org keep? How it's justified internally. P.S. A couple weeks ago, CC Munich, Germany got integrated into the local org in Munich. How's that for some real-time intel? Thank you so much. So let's define some of this stuff for some people watching. CC is Celebrity Center. So when you hear about the Celebrity Center, everyone kind of heard of Scientology Celebrity Center in Hollywood. There are celebrity centers all around the world. There was one in Portland for some reason. There's one in Nashville. There's one in Dusseldorf, Germany. Of all the places in Germany, why Dusseldorf? I don't know. Is Dusseldorf like the center for the arts in Germany? I've never known the answer to that question. Now, actually, hold on. There was a CC in Munich? I didn't even know there was a celebrity center in Munich. And so celebrity centers are class 5 orgs, as are regular orgs, class 5 orgs. To hear that 2 orgs have been combined into one is actually a really big deal because it violates every policy L. Ron Hubbard ever wrote on the subject. And whereas I don't give a damn about L. Ron Hubbard policy anymore, Scientologists are really supposed to. They really are. And combining orgs into one is the same thing as closing an org. That means Scientology closed an org. That is supposed to be unheard of. That's supposed to be something that never occurs. I mean, L. Ron Hubbard was very clear on this. Anyone who would close an org or advocate for closing an org is supposed to be declared a suppressive person immediately. And yet David Miscavige is able to control the thinking of Scientologists so effectively that he can do things directly counter to what L. Ron Hubbard said to do and still convince all of the sheep that this is actually, in fact, exactly what L. Ron Hubbard wanted done. It's why I say you're never going to totally get rid of Scientology. Never underestimate how much a cult leader can manipulate and control the thinking of the cult members. It truly is incredible. Okay, but that wasn't your question. How much money can an org keep? I forget the percentages. I forget the percentages that are supposed to go up lines to Continental Management, to International Management, to Golden Era Productions, to Flag. I just forget. The only thing that I remember is that staff pay was like 30% of the adjusted gross income. I just can't remember the calculation of how you arrived at the adjusted gross income. But there are other people, you know, Matt Pesh is someone I could talk to about. There's so many people who I can and will talk to on my channel to dig into that better on how that was arrived at. Orgs, but the fact that so much of the money is sent up lines, as they say, and none of the money comes back down is why orgs are constantly so broke. The New York org cannot afford to pay its electric bill. The staff at the New York org are told to take the stairs because they don't make enough money to pay the electric bill for the elevator. The New York org last year, 2 years ago, couldn't afford to fix their air conditioning unit in the summer. It was August. And because the AC wasn't working, the building was hot. Because the building was hot, they had to leave the door open to their server room because they didn't want the server to overheat and die. And then a Sea Org member walked by the server room and shut the door, and the server overheated and died. They lost all of their info. For weeks, most of it couldn't even be recovered. All because the New York org right in Manhattan can't even pay its freaking electric bill. Can you guys believe that? And yet Miscavige still convinces Scientologists that Scientology is the fastest growing religion on earth and has expanded like 62x in the last, 5 years or so. I mean, again, I said never underestimate the ability of a cult leader to control the thinking of its members. I mean, these guys can't pay their electric bill. They don't even get paid, and they can still be convinced they're the fastest growing religion on earth. It's truly remarkable. All right, here's another one. Oh boy, how do you say this? Al-Hazred's Gaming Goo. Al-Hazred's Gaming Goo. I'm going with that. Dead Space also has an obvious Church of Scientology parody, Unitology. I've heard of this as well. I've heard of this. Their main character couldn't go to his first choice school because his mom bought a higher rank. I have heard of that. I've never played Dead Space, so I don't know about it personally, but I've heard a lot about it. All right, let's see. Here's another one. Heather Smith. Guys I dated always said, I know it's fake, but pro wrestling is my soap opera. Why do non-Scientologists find it fascinating? It's their soap opera. I like the pro wrestling reference as well, especially since me and Hulk Hogan are currently beefing. Did you ever expect that there would be a former Scientology and what's the word? What is it? A crossover? Some crossover between the WWE and the world of former Scientology. Yeah, me and Hulk Hogan are beefing right now. He's got 10 days to file a lawsuit against me, or the video he got taken down of mine is going to be reinstated. So if Hulk Hogan sues me, that would be amazing, you guys. So yes, soap opera indeed. All right, let's see. I see one here. Carrie Johnson, attraction is not celebs. It's how a human can do those things to humans. So sure, that's true. And maybe there's something to be said for that, because also true crime is a massively popular subject in general in the media. And maybe that is what it comes down to. How can humans do those things to other humans? All right, Tracy Jenkins, I see you here. The celebrity aspect is not the fascination. It's the horrific treatment and manipulation of humans. Well, there you go. And it must be the case because both of you said it. But that's true for anything, right? I mean, there's so many things in life that are examples of humans treating other humans horribly. And maybe that is the pie that we're talking about, and Scientology just happens to be one slice of that pie. I mean, it makes sense to me. Okay, Miss Kim, not so much the celebrity for me. Okay, so everyone's in agreement on this. It's just so big, but still so awful. But it's not so big. It's not so big. There's only 25, 30, 35,000 Scientologists in the entire world. If you got all the Scientologists in the entire world, you couldn't fill half of the stadium for a Cowboys game. I mean, it's funny to think about it that way, but it's true. The more everyone knows about it, the more pressure is on government to deal with it. That is absolutely true. All right, Denver Steve-O. I was drawn into the Scientology story because of the celebrity angle. Going Clear and Leah's show really interested me, but it's the stories of you, Mark, Claire, Tom DeVocht, etc., that has kept me a follower, supporter, and an ally. Well, there you go. Thank you, Steve. Yeah, I mean, I certainly have heard from a lot of people who do care about the celebrity angle, but I've heard from a lot of people who get into Scientology for that reason as well, you know? So, all right, I see another one here, another one from Siren Song. What you are doing is so important and appreciated. Thank you. Well, it truly is my pleasure. Thank you. All right, Google must die. Part of my family has been in for almost 40 years now. I didn't have a choice but be around it as a minor. They spent time in LA in Clearwater. I've been to the Celebrity Center as a tourist. Your channel is opportunity to learn more. Yeah, guys, I get emails and, you know, messages on social media and whatnot from so many people who've never been in Scientology, but have family members who have been in. And it's really interesting to talk to these people and get their perspective on what are their observations of the behavior of their Scientologist family members. And in many times I've been able to talk to a lot of these people and help explain certain behaviors and whatnot. But yeah, Scientologists aren't really good at presenting themselves to their family members in a sensible way. It's really something kind of weird. Okay, the villain again. I was on the EPF with the last batch from the ranch. They were weird and troubled kids. I'm guessing you're referring also, by the way, to the PAC EPF, because a lot of those Int Ranch kids were sent down to the PAC EPF. Not so much the Clearwater, not so much the flag EPF, but the PAC EPF. So that would be interesting. And what that would have been in the early mid 90s, I think in the early mid 90s is when they're like, get these kids out of here and make them join the Sea Org. So I wonder if you're talking about, also there's the Int Ranch stuff, but then there was the PAC Ranch. The PAC Ranch kids were messed up. Those PAC Ranch kids were messed up. A lot of those Int Ranch kids ended up joining the Sea Org at Int. But those PAC Ranch kids, man, oh boy. Because I ended up being in the Sea Org with a lot of those kids when they were, you know, those kids joined the Sea Org in LA. I joined the Sea Org in LA in 2002. By that time, all those PAC Ranch kids were Sea Org members. And let's just say, not the good kind. The bad kind, because they just were still there because they had nowhere else to go, but they didn't really want to be there. They didn't give a damn. They were, for the most part, not good Sea Org members. All right, Matthew Burrill. Is there any video interviews with early Scientologists from the 50s and 60s? Yeah, there is. I only know of Ron DeWolf. I'd love to hear from those who were there at its height. I did recently find on YouTube one from, what was the woman who was the guardian? Jane Kember. Jane Kember. Now, this might not be the 50s and the 60s. This might have been the 70s. But there's an interview. It was almost like an intervention. It was almost like a news organization. It was all in black and white. This news organization was interviewing Jane Kember's family, and they didn't like Scientology. And then there was like this almost intervention where they're trying to talk to her about Scientology. They're trying to get her to admit to certain things, and she's like not having any of it. I have it on my list of things to eventually do a video about, but yeah, finding interviews with some of those early folks. Oh, I also saw an interview of some guy up in Canada. God, it might have even been one of Jane Kember's sons. I also could have these family relations completely wrong. He was like an Office of Special Affairs guy up in Canada, and he went on some actual public TV show, almost like a Ted Koppel-ish kind of thing, but up for Canada. Right? And remarkable stuff, because he presents so badly, like he thinks he's so superior to the guy who's interviewing him, and he's so arrogant and he's so rude and gruff. Really interesting stuff. So I'm going to try to highlight that on my channel as time goes on. All right, Abby Morford again. So glad you finally are watching Reckless Ben. So much fun to watch your reaction. When's the next vid? Can't wait. Yes, thank you so much. I'm going to cover all the Reckless Ben videos. I keep a list. I update every time I think of something to do a video about. Someone messages me something with some content. I go, yes, I'm going to do a video about that. I add it to my list, and I have my list sorted The things that are like time sensitive and urgent, time sensitive, tend to rise at the top of the list. Things like reacting to the reckless Ben stuff end up filling space when there's nothing particularly time sensitive that I want to do a video about. So it'll come. I'll get to all of them. And I noticed that Reckless Ben has been commenting on the videos too. So that's kind of cool. All right, here's one. Rich Lewis. Seems like we don't hear about freezoners anymore. Yeah, you got that right. Can you speak to this? Also, what are the lyrics your daughter sings at the end of your videos? Cheers. So you don't hear about freezoners much anymore. Freezoners, the free zone is a place where former Scientologists who, well, I guess they would actually call themselves Scientologists, who don't believe in David Miscavige. They don't like the Church of Scientology, but they still like Scientology. They still love L. Ron Hubbard, and they still love practicing Scientology. The free zone is where people would practice Scientology outside of the Church of Scientology. Now, even my mom is still a Scientology auditor. I don't get any of that auditing. But I can tell you the reason you don't hear about free zoners anymore is because people aren't interested in freaking Scientology or in doing it. People don't want to do it. So yes, there's still some out there. Yes, I'm sure they still have some business. But for the most part, business has dried up. I mean, yeah, I mean, that's the simple answer. You don't hear about them because there's hardly any of them. Okay, not even my daughter knows what the lyrics are that she's singing at the end of the video, but it sounds like, "Oh, Nancy boy, my love," is what it sounds like to me. "Oh, Nancy boy, my love." She was just making up something. I don't even know that she was intending to actually sing a real thing. She was just making up something off the top of her head. Oh, and I asked her, she actually told me, remember, because she's like 3 or 4 years old, or, when she filmed that. I mean, she's like 12 now. And that's my youngest daughter. And she explained that she had watched so many YouTube videos. She thought the way YouTube worked is that wherever you pointed, the thing would magically appear in the video. So she was trying to like trick the video. She was like, if you have subscribed or not, subscribe right here. That's how she thought the videos worked. So people always ask me what. Did I just kick myself out of my own live stream? Yes, I did. I did just kick myself out of my own live stream. That was not the Office of Special Affairs. It wasn't David Miscavige. It's this damn trackpad on my MacBook Pro. If I flick 2 fingers the wrong direction, it just kicks me right out of the whole damn thing. So sorry about that, guys. Now I have to go back and see where I was at in all the super chats. Is following related? My parents were Scientologism, and guys, I'm going to feel so bad if I've just missed a ton of chats. Okay, I'm going back to the beginning, and I'm just going to pick up where I left off. All right, Abby Morford. If following is celebrity related, it's Leah, not Tom Cruise. That's actually a really good point. That is actually a really good point. Because Scientology, the slow demise of Scientology, you're not really following Tom Cruise, are you? You're really more following the Leah Remini part of the story. That's actually a really good point. I hadn't thought of it that way. Thank you for that. Okay, here's one. Mark Walters. My parents were Scientologists, and my aunt and uncle were Sea Org. Family stories about being on the boat with LRH. Yep. There's still a lot of those guys kicking around. Thank you for doing all that you do. Your aunt and your uncle were in the Sea Org. Yeah. There's a lot of people who are on the boat with LRH. And when you get to talk to these people and you get to hear what it was really like, it just really wasn't that great. All right. Another one from the villain here. Early 2000s. Oh, that's when you were on the EPF. Really? Early 2000s. I mean, look, I was on the EPF at PAC in 2002. August 2002 is when I joined the Sea Org. So very interesting. Last swimmer sink batch as it was closing down. Definitely. Oh, in the ILO. As you can imagine, there were kids that were dragged along reluctantly. Yeah, of course. Because also, what are they going to do? If their parents are in the Sea Org and they choose not to be in the Sea Org, where the hell are they supposed to go? They have nowhere to go. So you end up with this kind of generation of children who are only in the Sea Org because they have no other freaking option. It's unbelievable. Okay, Kate Bowen. Hi, Aaron. I wondered about Elizabeth Moss, and when she was married to Fred Armisen, did he have to be a Scientologist? How Elizabeth Moss ended up married to Fred Armisen is like a mystery for the ages. I promise you, Fred Armisen never even made any overtures to joining Scientology. And didn't she then like sue for divorce? Almost like, and I'm going to get this wrong a little bit, almost like on the basis of fraud. Like there was something really weird going on there in that Elizabeth Moss, Fred Armisen marriage that lasted for like 5 minutes. And then really, I think she sued him for like deception or fraud or misrepresentation or something. It wasn't even irreconcilable differences, which is usually like the catch-all for a celebrity divorce. It wasn't even that. And also Fred Armisen's done a lot of Scientology, anti-Scientology material on Saturday Night Live from what I can recall. I have no good explanation, Kate, for how any of that happened. That was just so weird. Positive exploration. Thank you there. Throw up a question next time. Happy to answer anything you'd like to ask. All right. Denver Steve-O. I just watched the full LRH death announcement this week. Yeah, I've also been meaning to post that on my channel. I saw that someone else did, but I'll eventually do it as well. Was David Miscavige in charge of the announcement or just the MC? Everyone else seemed to be so ineloquent, even Pat Broker, whose lip licking was very off-putting. Pat Broker's behavior at that event is another like mystery for the ages. He was so uncomfortable. Just really weird. So I can tell you that between David Miscavige and Pat Broker at that event, Pat Broker was the senior Sea Org member at that event. So Miscavige might have been the MC. Like it would have been Miscavige's role to introduce Pat Broker. Pat Broker would have been the senior member in that equation. So let me see. Did I answer the question? Was DM in charge of the announcement? He was the MC. But he also did make the announcement. Like he is the one who officially made the announcement. I think Pat Broker then came on and added more context. And I got to tell you, I'm not even sure I've actually sat down and watched that entire event, but I will. When I do get around to uploading it to my channel, I will. I'll do chapter breaks and I'll do explanations in there like I did with the Ted Koppel interview. So I'll get around to doing all that myself pretty soon. It is while scrolling through the comments that I'm most prone to accidentally kick myself out of this live stream. So I got to be careful. Jason Polychron searched Hubbard loses his shit on YouTube. The cows. Check the other vids on his channel too. Sounds like LRH got caught on a hot mic. Oh, you know what? There is a lecture on the Class 8 Auditor course. The name of the lecture might just be called Standard Tech, where he is screaming at a bunch of Class 8 Auditor students. I have never seen that lecture on YouTube. I'm wondering if that's what you're talking about. That would be a great one for me to break down, react to. Yeah. It's the only instance I'm aware of. And realize it's not like Hubbard was caught screaming at these guys. Hubbard wanted everyone. He wanted to scream at these guys, to record it, and have everyone else, whoever did the Class 8 Auditor course from that point on, to hear him screaming at these guys. And I don't know, does that remind you of anybody? I don't know. How about Tom Cruise screaming at the crew on the set of Mission Impossible? I promise you, David, nobody secretly recorded Tom Cruise screaming at those people. Tom Cruise almost certainly intentionally recorded himself screaming at those people and then had that audio leaked to the press. It was probably even David Miscavige's idea. All right, let's see. Josh McKenna, do you have any crazy John Travolta stories? I always wondered if he was as crazy as Cruise. Does he have a relationship with Cruise? Cruise and Travolta are not friends. They're not friendly. Travolta really is as much of a nice guy, a sweetheart, and a teddy bear as you've heard about in the stories. He doesn't have a mean streak to him. I don't have any crazy John Travolta stories, although I was recently told that, even he is, at least to the people close to him, not in the closet. He's pretty out. And Lisa Marie Presley was one of John's closest friends. And, Lisa had this house in Hawaii. And before she sold the house, she said, John, just take the house, have it be, just go be your true self off in the privacy of my Hawaii home. Go live your best life. Do you. And that's what John did. He would use Lisa's Hawaii home and would be his true self. So again, those shouldn't even be crazy stories. I wish John didn't have to live this fake life thanks to Scientology. Like, it's not even for his career. Like, at this point, John Travolta doesn't have a career to ruin, and coming out of the closet wouldn't ruin his career anyway these days. At least not. I mean, that's how I think about it. All right, let's see. Ron, Ron, there are some great interviews with Hannah Whitfield. Oh yeah, for sure. One of Hubbard's ship captains from the late 60s on YouTube. You or anyone interested will not be disappointed. Well, that's right. And Hannah Whitfield, was she not also in Going Clear? I'm almost positive she was in Going Clear, which was actually the first time I was ever heard of Hannah Whitfield. I had no idea that that there was a woman who had been a captain of the Apollo. I was like, oh my God, I'm hearing about this for the first time. Because she was out of Scientology long before, honestly, almost probably before I was born. Certainly before I ever joined staff. So yeah, no, she's had some fantastic interviews that I've seen. And I've met Hannah. All right, Joshua Thaxton, the occult Crowley led me to LRH and Scientology. Very nice. Very nice. By the way, every time I say Aleister Crowley, I get contacted by people who are very impressed that I can say his name correctly. Most people say incorrectly, Crowley. It is Crowley. All right, Kim D. Hay, the Aftermath and Jehovah's Witness episode was my light out of Mormonism. Fantastic. Happy 58th birthday to me tomorrow. Keep up your great job. Slow and steady wins the race. Thank you so much, Kim. Yeah, I've heard from a lot of people who are very seriously impacted by the Jehovah's Witness episode of the Aftermath show. Thank you for that comment, and congratulations on getting out. That's fantastic. Simone Ferran, super sticker. Thank you, Simone. Go ahead and ask a question next time. Happy to answer it. All right, what do we got here? Zach, just found your channel. Have you ever watched Bojack Horseman? It's got a pretty good Scientology parody episode. I don't think I've ever actually watched a full episode of Bojack Horseman. I am aware of it, though. And if it's got a Scientology episode, I'll tell you what, Zach, because I'll forget. Zach, if you can email me at growingupinscientology@gmail.com, just with a mention of the Bojack Horseman, because I'll do a reaction video to that, even if I have to go through the 30-day content dispute process. YouTube, if you use copyrighted material, but you do it in a fair use fashion, the YouTube algorithm will detect the copyright material and issue a content dispute. And then you have to be like, this is fair use. And then it'll take like a month and then be like, you're right, that was fair use, sorry. And then you can publish the video. So I'll do the reaction to that because I can do the reaction and it is fair use, but it'll take me a month to actually publish the video. So shoot me a link. That actually sounds like a really good idea. Okay, I see one here. Courtney Thauvette, I think your daughter says, a candy for my love. That's a good one. I'm going to go with that one from now on. Linda P. Golan, find Mark's chat. Hilarious. Enjoy your content. Do you mean Marc Headley is in the chat? All right. Well, I can't go searching for it. If I start scrolling through this thing like crazy, I'm going to kick myself out of the stream again. So I got to be careful. All right. Kirsten Smith, will your wife join a live stream? Much love. my wife doesn't like talking publicly about Scientology. For the longest time, her friends, even after the show came out, her friends didn't even know that, like she has friends who've never, she has her whole friend group who's never even met me. And she had one friend who'd been a friend of hers for years when she was like, Heather Smith-Levin. Oh, are you married to Aaron Smith-Levin? So my wife just doesn't like talking publicly about it. She likes staying behind the scenes and everything. But who knows? Now that Claire is a regular fixture on Mark's channel, maybe my wife Heather will be interested in jumping in on mine. We'll have to see. That would be fun. All right, let's see. Kristen DeWitt. What is a Scientology wedding like? Boring. Meaning the wedding's boring, not your question. I can imagine Katie Holmes' parents sitting there like, WTH is happening here. So a Scientology wedding, it's not particularly interesting. It's not particularly weird or strange. You do get a Scientologist standing up there pretending to be a minister with a collar and a Scientology cross. And I think I can remember things like hold the ring and imagine in the ring. Actually, now that I'm thinking about this, does sound pretty weird. Imagine in the ring, the ARC triangle. The ARC triangle is like a fundamental principle of Scientology. Affinity, reality, and communication are the 3 points of the triangle. And ARC equals understanding. And you can raise 1 point of just by raising 1 point of the triangle, you can raise all 3 points of the triangle. It's like a very fundamental concept in Scientology. And they're like, imagine the triangles in the middle of the rings. But really, the ceremony itself doesn't have any inherent meaning. It's just something someone put together so that there could be a ceremony. It's not like some deeply spiritual, thing. It's just a thing that was created so that you could have a Scientology wedding. So not particularly remarkable. All right, I see another one here. Adrian the Way Down. Adrian the Way Down. Okay. Catching up on Mondays with Mark and Mike. Scientology recording audit sessions in California is technically illegal. California requires both parties to know they're being recorded. Would love to know if there's a potential lawsuit there. Nope, because whether the celebrities know it or not, I believe buried in the documents that they sign, the enrollment agreements with Scientology, they are agreeing to be recorded. Whether they know it or not. So yeah, good question though. R.R. Smith, singing shorts kill, man. Love to watch him singing. Okay, so I got a friend who's got a lot of time on his hands right now. And he has been creating so many of these singing shorts. I've only posted like 2 of them so far, but I have like 10 hilarious singing shorts to publish, including one of me and Mike and Mark all singing the Beach Boys' Good Vibrations. So funny. So funny. And I do have to do a little bit of editing and whatnot in order to upload them to YouTube. So that's one of the reasons I just haven't posted more of them. But they are so freaking funny. Thank you for the comment. Heather Smith, future video idea. I'd love to know more about Congressman Sonny Bono and if he used his influence for Scientology. His widow says he tried to escape and was unsuccessful. You know what? I actually have to find someone that I can talk to who knows more about the Sonny Bono thing. I don't even know how Sonny got into Scientology. Oh, you know who I bet knows? I bet Jeff Levin knows. I bet Jeff Levin was, Jeff was connected to all of those California celebrity folks because Jeff himself was in a band called People, which was a famous band. And Jeff Levin is a former Scientologist. I got to talk to him about what does he know about Sonny Bono? Because that's one of the stories. I've almost never heard anything of any particular detail about the Sonny Bono story. How did he get into Scientology? How deep was he? That's really interesting stuff. All right, let's see. Looking for the next one. And this is an extra long one, probably because I'm just taking my sweet old time. Okay, here we go. Oh, Mark said he's on Team Hulk. No, he's not. Mark's just trying to stir up YouTube drama. Mark said he's on Team Hulk. Damn you, Mark. Now we're going to have to settle this in the ring. yeah, this crossover between former Scientology world and pro wrestling is hilarious. But I swear to God, once the 10 days goes by, if Hulk Hogan does not actually sue me, I am going to probably have to come on a live stream with a bandana and a feather boa and talk about how I have beaten Hulk Hogan. You know, the irony of this whole thing, I'm a huge Hulk Hogan fan. I got no freaking beef with Hulk Hogan at all. All of my videos have been designed to warn Hulk Hogan that this family destroying human trafficking cult is without question trying to figure out how to spy on him and worm its way into his life. And he needs someone telling him the truth about all this, because his Scientologist girlfriend, Sky Daly, is sure as hell not going to be the one to be telling him the truth about all this. So I hope Hulk Hogan realizes that I'm not after him. I'm not even trying to troll him. I'm not trying to anything. I'm trying to help him. So anyway, we'll see. Niels, where did Tommy Davis go? I'm pretty sure Tommy went to Texas. I could be wrong about that. I feel like it was Texas. It's hard for me to imagine Tommy Davis actually living in Texas, though. Maybe his wife, the wife he divorced, Jessica Feshbach, maybe she's the one that went to Texas. I feel like Tommy's a California boy through and through. He's got to be living somewhere up there in Napa, right? I mean, don't you think? It seems to me that he's got to be somewhere in California. So I'd have to look it up, though, to be sure. All right, let's see. Juliana Bettencourt, you missed Mark's chat about Hulk. It is on. Oh, yeah, brother. It is on. We're going to settle this in a Royal Rumble cage match. Yeah, me and Mark should both do a live stream. Come on. He can dress up as Hulk Hogan. I'll dress up as Macho Man Randy Savage. Maybe Mike Renner can dress up as like Stone Cold or The Rock or something. We could really, there's a lot of stuff we could do with this. All of it very, very fun. Denver Stevo, insert random Marty story here. Yeah, Marty stories. Let me see. I do have a Marty story, but yeah, it actually, so when me and my brother were training at Flag in Clearwater, Daniel O'Connor, my brother was in a little bit of trouble. And Dan O'Connor, who's now the senior CS Kansas City, he was on training at the same time. And he decided that he was going to apply the L. Ron Hubbard policy letter called Knowledge Reports, where this is the policy letter where Hubbard tells all Scientologists that they have to snitch on each other all the time. And he makes this example. He goes, if you were in a group and little Johnny was constantly, picking, sticking people with pins, he goes, in an upstat, easy to live with and work with group, Johnny would have a black eye. Hubbard's message here is that the group members in a group where the individual group members are enforcing ethics on each other, such a group is an easy to live with and work with group. So in other words, the internal group members would never put up with Johnny sticking people with a pin. Instantly, Johnny would have a black eye. Well, some moron Scientologists like Dan O'Connor think this policy letter is literal and that it is an excuse to actually physically assault someone and give them a black eye. So Dan O'Connor did just that to my brother, my 15-year-old brother. Dan O'Connor was an adult at this time. And he struck my brother in the face. And the next morning, Marty Rathbun came to the course room just to let Dan O'Connor know that he had heard about what happened and wanted Dan to know that was a job well done. That's my Marty Rathbun story. He wanted Dan O'Connor to know that punching my brother in the face. Also, Dan O'Connor didn't have any beef with my brother. I mean, my brother was in trouble, not for anything he did to Dan O'Connor. Dan O'Connor just wanted to teach my brother a lesson that, well, I'm going to give you a black eye now. Like literally, I think he even had the conversation with him. I'm going to apply the Knowledge Reports policy letter. It says you in an upstat, easy to live with and work with group, Johnny would have a black eye. Well, that's what I'm going to do now. And then they wrestled around outside and whatever. And, I heard about all this afterwards. I wasn't there for this, but I heard about it afterwards. And so, yeah, that was the Marty Rathbun story. Good job, Dan. Good job on physically assaulting that 15-year-old child. That's what L. Ron Hubbard wanted. There's my Marty Rathbun story for you. All right. Gary Moorhead Jackson making it rain. Good to see you, Jackson. Thanks for joining the chat. Thanks for the super chat. I appreciate it. Jamie Dodger, Priscilla Presley is contesting her daughter's choice of leaving Graceland to her kids. Do you think Scientology are behind this? This is very interesting. Okay, so a couple thoughts. First of all, I do feel like Priscilla still being a Scientologist could have very well factored into Lisa Marie leaving Priscilla out of the will or whatever. On the other hand, those two have also always not had a good relationship. And then on the third hand, what kind of parent expects the child to leave shit to them in a will? That's not the way it usually works. So I was thinking about this yesterday, and I'm like, why would Priscilla expect Lisa Marie to leave shit to her? That's not how wills usually work. So if anyone wants to shed some light on that subject in the comments, please do. Why would a parent expect the child to leave shit to the parent? So anyway, so that makes me go, Scientology could have had nothing to do with it. It could have just as easily had nothing to do with it. You see what I mean? Thank you for that question. Looking for the next one. All right. Asher Coben, Aaron, tear off your shirt, Hulk Hogan style. Oh man, we could do so much with this Hulk Hogan beef. Thank you for the comment, Asher. All right. Louis Giliberto. Read Mike's book. Just finished Mark's book. Where's Aaron's book? I need the trifecta. I am more convinced each and every day that I will eventually figure out how to turn these hundreds and hundreds of knowledge reports that I wrote during my time in the Sea Org into a book. I am very lazy at heart. I saw how many years and how much hard work it took Mike to finish his book. I don't know that I have it in me to confront that, but it will happen eventually. I'm sure of it. All right. Noah Ferguson. I remember you were mentioning working at the Philly org. What other orgs? Ever in base? How did you end up in Clearwater? Love your channel. I'd pay for Patreon. Well, thank you, Noah. So the only orgs I officially worked at in Scientology was the Philly org. As a Philly staff member, I was an outer org trainee at Flag. So in some case, in a sense, I was working at Flag for about 3 years, but I wasn't a staff member at Flag. Then I joined the Sea Org in LA, and I worked at ASHO, or the American St. Hill Organization. It's one of the blue buildings on L. Ron Hubbard Way. And then I officially worked for AOLA, the Advanced Organization of Los Angeles, the highest level organization that's right there on L. Ron Hubbard Way. How did you end up in Clearwater? When my wife and I left the Sea Org, my mom was still working in Philly, and Philly's no place to raise a family, like downtown Philly. So we wouldn't have had anyone to help us there because my mom was still working 100 hours a week at the Scientology org. Also, my wife's older than me, and her parents are much older than my mom. So anyway, her family had relocated from California to Clearwater. So when we were leaving the Sea Org, her folks and her family was here in Clearwater. So, and Clearwater is a nice place to raise a family, whereas downtown Philly's not. So moving to Clearwater was the obvious choice for us. That's how we ended up here. Excellent question. Thank you very much. All right, let's see. Jason Cow. Thank you very much, Jason. Jamie Dodger. Mike Rinder could be the ultimate warrior. Dude, we really should come on a Mondays with Mike and Mark at some point, all dressed as pro wrestlers. That would be so much fun. Anna Phalaxis. I like that. I see what you're doing there. Thank you for exposing the scam that is the Church of Scientology. It is truly my pleasure. All right, we got one here. Olson, 1987. Just want to say that I enjoy your videos. Keep up the great work at exposing Scientology. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I have fun doing them. Thank goodness. All right, let's see. Oh, it's a trust, not a will. That's true. D-Soul. It's a trust, not a will. So that's true. But is it a distinction without a difference? Why would a parent expect the child to transfer rights and assets to the parent when we're talking about people who are advanced in age? What, Lisa Marie was what, 50? 40, late 40s, 50, early 50s? Priscilla's 70 something. If you're Priscilla Presley, why are you expecting Lisa Marie to leave stuff to you? I still don't get it. But you're right. It is a trust. Okay. Pamela Crawford. I'm interested in Scientology because I hate bullies. It's a good one. I don't like to see people hurt by others. I'm so into taking them down. Also, because of UAA Run, I look for your videos every day. I love them. Thank you so much, Pamela. That's why I try to do them every day. Well, I do them every day. I don't think I missed a day in 6 months. What was it like? I think June or July of last year is when I was like, I'm going to do videos every day. But thank you. And I also don't like bullies. And, you know, now that I've got a big platform, I can do something about bullies. And I have lately. All right, here we go. Jem's journey. What was the benefit to the person writing a KR? The benefit was upholding the ethical standards of Scientology, Jem. The benefit was, you know, if you're a Scientologist, if you're a staff member, you believe that operating in accordance with policy is the formula to expansion of Scientology. And deviating from that is preventing expansion. So writing a report was really an attempt to put in ethics and change the behavior of the people who were being naughty. Yeah, I mean, that would be the steelman argument of, oh, but the benefit. Well, yeah, the benefit is you're trying to improve your environment. You're trying to get everyone on the same team. Because you want, the staff members want to be, the ideal situation is everyone is operating on the same team, operating as a team, operating on the same page towards a common purpose without other intentions or counter intentions. And the knowledge reports is basically an in-your-face way of saying, I see what you're doing, it's wrong, I'm calling you out for it, and I'm demanding that you change. As opposed to just complaining about someone behind their back. The knowledge report is the opposite of complaining about someone behind their back. It's complaining about them right to their face. And I was good about that. Probably doesn't come as a shock to many of you. All right. Out of fear, gang. What's up with the sauna program? Do you believe in it? No, the sauna program is total BS. You cannot sweat out toxins. Oh boy, this is probably almost as explosive as talking about politics, because you're gonna have your cleanses and your thises and your that's. You cannot sweat out toxins. Now there's going to be a bunch of people being like, I've done my research and you are wrong, sir. And you shouldn't talk about things without knowing what you're talking about. You cannot detox your liver with a juice or a tea. That's not how the body works. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox here. The sauna program is just something LRH came up with to figure out, to explain why people were having trouble with auditing. And as long as you did the frickin' sauna program, now you're going to be clear mentally, or more clearer mentally, and be able to get the full results of auditing. It's total bullshit. The high doses of niacin, the extremely high doses of niacin that Scientologists take during their lifetime is almost certainly a part, one of the reasons why so many Scientologists die from cancer. That's all I'm going to say on that. Thank you for the question. It's a good question. DW, I'm a Mormon who likes your channel. Am I weird? Is being weird a bad thing? No, I'm not religious, but I'm not anti-religious. Just for the record, I know that wasn't your question. Like, I do not look down on people who believe in any of these religions, because there's also different ways of believing in different things. I mean, there's different ways of believing. There's also different ways of acting. And I don't look down my nose at anyone who believes. And I don't expect, former Mormons seem to very much connect with the messages and the stories of former Scientologists. But I don't necessarily expect current Mormons to find the stories of former Scientologists offensive to them. Do you know what I mean? And if I was a Mormon and I heard the Scientology story, I probably wouldn't go, yeah, that sounds a lot like us. I probably wouldn't think that at all. But the stories of former Scientologists seem to really, really resonate with former Mormons and former Jehovah's Witnesses, in a way, in some way, much greater than any other groups. And I can't explain it because I don't actually know what Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses believe. But yeah, I don't think you're weird. I think that's actually really interesting. Thank you for the comment. MD Shunk, thank you for that. All right, B Square. Want to see you, Mike and Mark, dressed up as the Three Amigos. That would also be a fantastic idea. Oh my God, that would be so much fun. I mean, at least sombreros, right? Maybe we get some little, you can only see from about here up. So maybe get a little vest, sombreros. My God, we could have so much fun with all that. The villain, writing a KR did have something to do with as-isness and all that. I sincerely thought writing a report would as-is another person's shit. That's interesting. I certainly never thought of it that way. I mean, obviously the report, the policy does say include time, place, form, and event. I don't remember the policy saying anything about as-ising, because really as-ising is something you're only supposed to be able to do for yourself. You're not supposed to be able to as-is someone else's stuff. I guess at the highest levels of the bridge, people probably think they can as-is other people's stuff. As-is, guys, is a Scientology term for seeing something exactly as it is, at which point it ceases to vanish. I guess in, just common day-to-day life, it would be the equivalent of once you realize the true source of something, boom, now you can do something about it and it's no longer a problem. That comparison isn't totally perfect. Because in Scientology, they literally believe that, like, in a Scientology auditing session, if you were to somehow isolate or recall or remember the exact moment in time that you made the decision that all of the atoms in this microphone existed for the first time, the microphone would literally vanish. That's what as-is means in Scientology. Except in Scientology, you're trying to as-is your engrams, your mental recordings of pain and unconsciousness. So anyway, that's a little lesson for everybody. Yeah. So very interesting what you say about writing the report would have something to do with as-isness. I'd actually never heard that before, but that is interesting to consider. Amanda Norton, does the church track sales of Dianetics books? Oh, yes, it definitely does. It just doesn't report the numbers because the numbers are horrible, but they do track the sales and they do know how horrible it is. All right, Bonnie Vincent, could Priscilla maybe be trying to contest because the twins are underage and she is trying to bypass trouble with the twins' father, who Lisa had so much trouble with him wanting more money? You raise a very interesting point here. I actually did not realize her twins were underage. No, I think, what are they, like 14? Are her twins 14? So that is interesting. But here's the thing. Riley is not underage. So it doesn't, the twins almost don't matter. The article that I read only mentioned Riley being the sole person that the trust was transferring to. It didn't even mention the twins. So you ask a good question, but I just don't know if that has something to do with it. Joshua Thaxton, how far did you get up the bridge? Sorry, new sub. You're not going to believe this. The only official grade chart action that I ever finished was the purification rundown. I was on staff and in the Sea Org for over 15 years. I worked at the organization responsible for delivering the OT levels to people. And I myself never even finished a Scientology grade. Never attested to clear, never did any OT levels. I did all auditor training, did a lot of auditor training, a lot of administrative training, a lot of other technical training, but I just did not like getting auditing and I was very good at avoiding it. So the result of that is I finished almost none of it. Thank you for that. Jason Cow, my next door neighbor was an architect who worked on buildings for Scientology in Europe. Very interesting. I wonder if he has any good stories. Oh, I bet he has some very good stories. He's not a Scientologist. He said Scientology paid well. Scientology does pay well for professionals. They tend not to pay their bills when they're dealing with like large contractors and whatnot, but they do pay well. All right. They just don't pay their own staff well. Grand Theft Dirigible. I love the name. Largo, Florida here. Hey there. Have left a lot of Aftermath cards around town. Lisa Marie is owner of the Elvis catalog and all royalties. Scientology wants the money. So, I've been critical of Lisa Marie for kind of keeping her mouth shut the last 5, 6, 7 years, whatever it's been. 8 years. But the truth is, Lisa Marie was no fan of Scientology, no fan of David Miscavige. Lisa Marie just really liked doing the purification rundown. Lisa Marie has always struggled with substance abuse issues. And one of the ways she would get back on the wagon is to go and do the purification rundown. But she, my understanding is that she was waiting for all the divorce proceedings that she was going through with Michael Lockwood. I think that was the name, Michael Lockwood. She was waiting for all that to complete so that she could talk about Scientology again. That's my understanding. I can't swear to it. That's my understanding. So Scientology was never going to get Lisa Marie's money. That's also my understanding. I think we should be learning more about that soon. All right, let's see. D Soul again. A trust is about who manages the estate until insert event or date. As trustee, Priscilla would get a low % stipend for managing the trust. Makes sense. Makes sense. It's just that if Priscilla had not been the one managing the trust up until that point, I just don't know why she thinks she somehow has some inherent right to be named the new manager of the trust instead of Riley. I mean, I just don't know. And we don't know all the drama. I mean, what I read was Priscilla just actually doesn't believe it was Lisa Marie's choice. She says, my name's not spelled right. It doesn't look like Lisa Marie's signature. And, you know, she could be right. I mean, she could be right. There could have been someone working behind the scenes who changed something behind the scenes. We don't really know. And yeah, but thank you for that clarification. Jem's Journey. I used to take niacin to get out of a test at school. That's awesome. Looks like an allergic reaction. Worked every time. Yep, niacin will do that to you. Have you red as a cherry? Does not feel good. What's in it for you? Thank you very much for that. Scrolling through. TJ, Priscilla is trying to be the trustee instead of Riley. It's about control of the trust, not about her share of the assets. Fair. But again, kind of insulting to Riley, right? Like, how old is Riley? I'm afraid if I pull up a browser, I'll accidentally kick myself out of the stream, so I don't even want to search. But I mean, kind of insulting to Riley. Okay, we got it here. I don't blame Lisa Marie Presley for declining Narconon rehab. Okay, 12-step programs work. P.S. Raised Mormon, and I love your channel. I remember rattlesnakes in mailboxes. Yeah, I've heard about that. So, Narconon, yeah, Priscilla, Lisa Marie wouldn't go and do the Narconon. She would just go and do the Purif. Now, the Purif, the Purification Rundown, is part of the Narconon program, but the Narconon program has a bunch of extra stuff as well. Lisa Marie Presley was just interested in doing the Purif. She would do it every now and then. God, I keep having this thing I want to swallow. What's in it for you? Metalhead Princess. I do not know what that means. Mental Head Princess. As a Christian missionary year ago, we would say we had WOG, Words of God. Now I find out I am a WOG. Yes. For any new watchers, WOG is Scientology's word for non-Scientologists. And it just so happens to also be a racial slur in many parts of the world, which you'd think L. Ron Hubbard knew when he came up with that word. And in the Scientology dictionary, if you look up the word WOG, it doesn't even actually say non-Scientologist. It says worthy Oriental gentleman. And as a young child looking up that definition, I remember going to the course supervisor and being like, what in the hell does this mean? Worthy Oriental gentleman. And this is another indicator that L. Ron Hubbard knew this was a slur, a racial slur, and chose to use it anyway. It turns out that in some of the fields of war where Americans were conducting war, like Vietnam, for example. This is a story that I've heard. I mean, you historians jump in, let me know if I'm wrong about this. There was, as I'm thinking about it, I feel like I'm going to bastardize this whole thing. WOG was used as a racial slur. And someone high up in the military brass was like, "Oh, this is incorrect. We shouldn't be referring to people this way, referring to these people this way." And someone came up almost as a joke that it's not a slur. It's actually a term, a polite term, because WOG stands for worthy Oriental gentleman. And that was sort of a wink, wink way of using this derogatory word, but pretending like it meant something great or nice. And this was totally lost on me as a young person in Scientology. I just didn't get it because I also didn't know history. Yeah. You look up the term WOG in a Scientology dictionary, and all it says is worthy Oriental gentleman. So that would be a throwback to this story of what happened in the military, where people were using a word they knew was derogatory, but came up with an excuse so that it wasn't one. All right. MD Shunk, are there Scientologist dating sites? You better believe there are. Not many, because there's not many Scientologists, but Affinity Exchange is a Scientology dating site. And I think there's one or two others, but I just can't remember the names of them. But Affinity Exchange. If anyone wants to sign up for that nonstop source of entertainment. All right, let's see. Tom Jacko, did you ever finish The Vow? If so, do you think this will have any impact on Scientology? I didn't finish The Vow. I didn't even finish season 1, much less season 2. It's one of those things where I want to get back to it, but I just never have the time. But I've got to, because I really want to. I've got all the notes that I've taken for the part of season 1 that I've already watched. Anything that came up in The Vow that was like almost word for word taken from Scientology, I made a note about it so that I could do like a summary video about all the stuff. LavG Green, LAVG Green, niacin in ESO, please tell a bit. Well, it's not just in the Sea Org. Niacin is something that you take on the purification rundown up to like 5,000 units a day or 10,000 units a day. Maybe 5,000 was the most, I forget. But also people in Scientology take niacin and get rid of headaches for some reason, even though to me that seems like the last thing you would want to do to get rid of a headache. Scientologists tend to take a lot of vitamins, and the vitamin packs that are sold in like Scientology, little cafes or whatever, always have niacin in them. So Scientologists take tons and tons of niacin over their lifetime. And that is not a healthy thing to do. Niacin is one of the most widely and long-term researched supplements, or whatever you want to call it, vitamin supplements. And it is not good for you long-term in high doses. Thank you for that one. Okay, let me see. I have no way of knowing how many more comments or super chats are left, but we'll just keep going for now. David Stewart, have you reacted to the Scientology doc by YouTube channel Daniel Royce? I've got this on my list, and it's pretty high up on my list. He is extremely underrated, needs any support you can get. David, I do have that on my list, and I feel like I'm going to get to that one sooner than later. Thank you for that. Sally, thank you. Simone again. Do your kids remember being in Scientology? My kids were never in Scientology. Oh, maybe you mean like were they born into a Scientology family? Our kids have never been introduced to Scientology in any way, shape, or form. They'd never even heard the word Scientology before I filmed the Scientology in the Aftermath show with Leah Remini. Even then, they didn't hear the word. Like, they didn't know what we were filming about. They weren't there for the filming. But, they're older now. My girls are 16, 14, and 12, and they know my channel. They watch my videos sometimes. They know about all this stuff now. But no, I've never even asked my kids if they remember being in Scientology, because nobody does. It's all BS. Mickey LaBenz, is DM's twin taller than him and as bad? Thank you for all you do and bring to the light. Hugs from Nebraska. Thank you so much, Mickey. I've never met Denise Miscavige. They have the same initials, David Miscavige and Denise Miscavige. I've never met her, but they are twins. No, I guess they're fraternal twins, right? So one could be taller than the other. It's hard to imagine her being smaller than Dave. I mean, that would be tough. But I've never met her, so I can't tell you. I've never heard anyone comment about how tall Denise Miscavige is. So, but you know who would know? I bet Headley would know. Headley would know. Someone ask Headley. Kim D. Hay, are Scientologists private about kids and grandkids. I never knew Lisa Marie had a grandchild. Well, I don't think Scientologists are private about it. I think Lisa Marie Presley would be private about it. I didn't know Riley had a kid. I don't think anyone knew Riley had a kid. In fact, I saw a news article about the memorial service for Lisa Marie, and I think Riley's husband got up there and read something, and that was the first public mention ever that Riley had given birth during, the lockdown or whatever. So I don't think anybody knew. I don't think that's not a Scientologist thing. That's a Lisa Marie Presley thing. All right, we got here Tracy White. No judgment. However, why does it seem that Scientologists swear so much? You're right, they do. Appreciate your channel and all you do to take down DM. That has to do with a cultural thing of Scientology staff members. And I don't know where it started from. I mean, I guess it could have started with L. Ron Hubbard, but you see, that's an example of like, I never knew L. Ron Hubbard. I never worked with him. And in the L. Ron Hubbard lectures and any lectures that Scientologists listen to, L. Ron Hubbard never swears beyond saying damn or something. He never swears. So I'd always sort of had the impression that maybe LRH didn't swear. I believe those who've worked with him be like, oh no, he swore a lot, because all the Sea Org members swore just like sailors. No pun intended with the Sea Organization. So it's just part of the culture. Like, I've stopped swearing so much only because of YouTube. Like, YouTube has gotten me to stop swearing so much in my videos, but I still swear as much in real life. So many people are so offended by profanity, at least according to the comments section of my videos, which is weird because the YouTube channels that I watch, they swear on their videos just as much as I swear in real life. So, but the people who watch my videos do not like swearing, at least if the comments are any indication. Okay, Jem, are Sea Org members allowed to smoke? Allowed? They're practically required. That's another thing. Staff members and Sea Org members smoke like chimneys. That's something I never got into. I've never smoked a cigarette. That's probably because I got into long distance running when I was young, and just smoking a cigarette just never even occurred to me. Like, what? Ew. Plus, they kind of stink. Yeah, not a fan of the cigarettes. But Sea Org members smoke like chimneys, which is incredible considering they don't get paid very much and they spend all their money on coffee and cigarettes. But it's just the way it is. Thank you for that. What's in it for you? P.S. Love the Three Amigos on Monday nights. Thank you very much. Again, for those who might not have heard it early on, this week, Mondays with Mike and Mark is going to be on Tuesday. Now, I'm not going to call it Tuesdays with Mike and Mark. We're going to still call it Mondays with Mike and Mark, special Tuesday edition. All right, let's see. Courtney again. Courtney Thavet, let's join a dating site and share the aftermath info. Yes, please do that. That would be amazing and hilarious. And that's what the internet was made for. That would be amazing. All right, here we go. LAVG Green meant I was in the SO. All right, hold on. Meant I was in SO. Oh, I forget the wording of your last comment. So, okay. And worried about how much niacin they had me taking. Ex-Scientologist. Thank you from New York. Yes. Thank you for the comment. So look, I don't want to be a merchant of fear. I couldn't draw a direct causation between if you take this much niacin that you're going to have this many problems. But look up some of the research that you can find online. I'm talking about like academic, long-term medical studies on very high doses of niacin over many years. It's not good for you. So just check it out. The information's out there. But, I wouldn't look it. Go see a doctor, get some tests, you're probably fine. What would I know? I grew up in a cult. Splinter Sloth, have you tried to get on any of the big comedy podcasts? You're hilarious, and it's not like you'd have nothing interesting to talk about. Have I tried? No. Would I be interested? Yes. By the way, those comedy podcasts, that's a lot of what I watch on YouTube. By the way, I'm Team Bobby all the way. But so the big comedy, I love those guys. Actually, did you guys see Brian Callen interviewed Mike Rinder? And it was one of the shittiest interviews I've ever seen of Mike Rinder. You would think that Brian Callen would be a really good interviewer. And for some reason in this episode, at least, he was not. But Callen Brian Callen's part of that whole scene. You know, I'm a kind of a big fan of like staying in my lane, you know, sticking to what I know. Like if one of those guys asked me to be on the podcast, I would for sure go. But it's not like I would ask, because what am I going to say or do on their podcast that I can't say or do right here on my own? It's not like I'm trying to be some sort of a YouTube social climber. Do you know what I mean? Like my definition of accomplishment is whatever it is I'm accomplishing right here on my channel. It's not like this for me is not a stepping stone to something greater. This is the stone I'm trying to step on. So if those guys, if anyone wants me to come on and talk to them, I would love to do it, but it's not something I'm going to pursue or search for, if you know what I'm saying. Thank you for that. Have you caught up with Nathan? He lives in China now. Oh yeah, I talk with Nathan all the time. I mean, Nathan's lived in China the whole time. Ever since you ever heard of Nathan, he was living in China. He did move from Beijing down to Shanghai, and he is in Thailand at the moment right now, but he'll be back in Shanghai soon. Me and Nathan chat all the time. Yeah. So he's got a lot of awesome stuff going on in his life. All right, let's see. In fact, I was trying to meet up with him sometime between now and March, but it's probably not going to work. Okay, Sean Austin, do y'all still do the Scientology tours? No. Now, we never did the tours. Ted Reinhardt was operating Cult City tours, and we did like sort of a special edition, like Aftermath SP edition of a Cult City tour. But no, that business is not open anymore, and not because of anything Scientology did. It just wasn't a going concern. But Ted's still around. Okay, Jacob Harkey. I've heard that cigarettes are pretty prevalent in the SO. They certainly are. Do you have any idea if nicotine vaping devices have made their way into the SO culture? I'd have to guess yes. It's kind of a kinder, gentler, less stinky way of smoking. And yet you still see Sea Org members huddling around in corners smoking cigarettes, though. I can't say I've seen any Sea Org members walking around with vape pens, but you would have to think yes. And, you know, I don't vape and I don't smoke, so I'm not even sure. Is vaping cheaper than cigarettes? If vaping were cheaper and it seems to be a little better, at least, you know, just from a smell perspective, you would have to think that vaping is pretty much the way to go in the Sea Org these days. Thank you for that question, Jacob. And Jacob was the winner of a contest. Marc Headley was running some sort of a contest of taking photos of your Mike Rinder bobbleheads inside of Scientology organizations. And Jacob submitted his photo for the contest, and he won. I don't remember what you won, though, Jacob. Did you win something? Did Mark send you something? I'm guessing yes. Otherwise, what kind of a contest is it? All right, let's see. Grand Theft Dirigible is back. Can you help me find my earrings? P.S. Swearing rules. Man, the earrings things is never going to get old. I'm going to figure out how to keep bringing back the reference of finding his earrings. My new phrase that I like to use when talking about Tampa Brad is Tampa Brad, Home Love Construction. He's dropping loads and pearls of wisdom. I got to try to figure out how to fit that into as many Tampa Brad videos as possible. Okay, we're getting down to the very last of it. This is the last one, you guys. First Dawn. Hi, Aaron. In the event of the demise of DM, any names of folks who would jockey for the spot? Would there be any moderate, if that is even possible? I'm guessing Guillaume Leserve and Mark Yeager would still be in the mix. Mark Ingber and, Shelly Miscavige. Shelly Miscavige is just as likely to take over in the event of David Miscavige's early demise as anyone else. And she's at least a kinder, gentler version of Dave, right? That's what we hear anyway. So Jacob Harkey, they mailed me an SP bracelet. Nice. Haven't received it yet, but I'm looking forward to it. Well, fantastic. I'm sure it'll arrive any day now. Holy shit, you guys. We did 2 hours, and I did just finish the last comment. So don't submit any more. Thank you guys for joining me on this. I've never done a 2-hour one before, so this is awesome. Oh, shit. Someone else put one in. Niels, shall we all start a new cult like Scientology? Nah, skip it. It's not worth the headaches. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching and listening. This has been a lot of fun. Thanks to everyone who watches until the very end. and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe right here. Bye.